Hi, I'm Jessie Downs, owner of Downs Tax, and this is my assistant Matilda. You may hear other assistants working in the background throughout this video. So, our job is to support the backbone of the American economy, small business, and self employed. And one of the ways we're going to do that today is by bringing to folks' attention simple mistakes folks can make that may find themselves in big trouble, especially if they run a nonprofit or a business. So, one of those is not filing tax returns, especially with nonprofits. I see this a lot as a tax person. Um, the folks who are involved in a nonprofit are usually very passionate about what they're doing, and that is the focus. They're focused on raising money, they're focused on making sure that the money gets to where it's benefited, who they need to benefit, so on and so forth. Their concentration isn't necessarily on the cleanliness of everyday bookkeeping or filing tax returns. And that could be true of any business as well. With a nonprofit, if you don't file tax returns for a few years, then you lose your nonprofit status. And you don't really know that that's going to happen until you get that notice that, hey, your nonprofit status is going to be revoked if you don't get these tax returns filed. And I do believe it is just that one notice. So, anyway, as far as that goes, it's easy for them to overlook. It's like I said, it's not on the forefront of people's minds when they're doing it. And so it's very important that they, when folks are in a position of running a business or a nonprofit, that they really need to reach out to a tax professional and find out what they need to be doing so they can avoid issues that a certain beloved nonprofit is facing. So that's one of them. And of course, that's a big deal if you're receiving government grants, right? The second is this. You want to make sure that your business expenses are legitimately business related. Otherwise, it could be considered embezzlement. And that is same with nonprofit or running your own business, even if you're a sole proprietorship. And let me tell you how simple these everyday decisions could be. It could be that, if you're in charge of a business or a nonprofit, you could be picking up Starbucks every morning on your way to work on the company's tab. Best case scenario, that's a $5 coffee every day. And that's about, when you multiply that by, 365 days a year, that's like $1,800 in a year. And so that's best case scenario. So if we round that up to maybe, I don't know, we could just round it down to 1,500 because I don't know where everybody picks it up every day. But anyway, 1,500, and you multiply that by, 3 or 4 years, you've got yourself, $6, $7, $8,000 of expenses right there that really aren't company expenses. They're really not legitimate nonprofit expenses. And then if you multiply that by another person who may be doing the same thing there, then you've got yourself into 10 or 20 grand of embezzlement money. So this is how these simple decisions can rack up to be something that is, could be considered nefarious, but really isn't. That's not to say that folks don't use money for nefarious purposes. But a lot of folks do buy their lunch every day with their company money, or they do buy their coffee every day with their company money. It's different if you're treating the whole office to coffee, then that's a legitimate business expense, because the employees benefit from it. So anyway, these are just a couple of things to keep in mind as you're running your business. If you want more information, check out my blog.